My name is Kekwan, aka MC Kek the Joke, and I have with me.
Is real one, aka the real one from Nigeria.
And then we have our beautiful and talented lady with us today, in the name of.
Sarah from Morocco.
Okay, Sarah is from Morocco. So this is your crew today. We quickly going to jump into what our segment is about today. Today we are going to talk about career choices as an international student, what you think about when picking a career and also picking your courses outside the country, because it's a different reality out there. I know we all grew up in a culture where there are only four careers in the world: lawyer, engineer, doctor,
And disappointment.
and disappointment. And what are some of them? Like, there were some basic.
You gotta be a nurse.
You got to be a nurse. So that is the goal back home. So your parents will kind of shove onto you on these careers they want you to do, or they want you to take part in. For some, because it's prestigious. In Africa, social class is a huge thing, and for others too, it's about the money. So what do you think? I mean, let's bring them into reality from here than what we actually used to.
Okay, so I would say, if you want to choose a major, don't go for what people say. You have to think deep. What do you like to do? I started as a medical assistant guy. I have an associate degree in medical assistant, but I realized this really isn't for me. I'm presently an IT support personnel, so I would say always, go with the flow. Do what you want to do. Don't think about what people say or what people really want you to do. Because in the U.S. they will try to get in your head like, oh, like, are you a doctor? Are you a nurse and stuff like that? You just gotta do what you gotta do. So think deep and make smart decision.
Well, I think your parents have an expectation for you. They want you to be a certain thing when you are growing up and whatnot. And in my case, they want me to be a lawyer or computer scientist, and all these things I didn't see fit when I came to college. Before I came to college, I discovered that I like business. I like to talk to people, selling, buying, and actually talking to people about different things help. And that's what I think I'm good at without doing too much work. So I did that, but then at some point, hey, do what makes money.
It's really important to do something that you love, that you want to do. In my country as well as a lot of African countries, it's true. You do, for example, you go to medical school. A lot of my friends are doing medical school just because their parents, they wanted them to do that, whereas they have other aspirations. Yeah. But you're going to spend your entire life doing that career. You're going to spend your entire life waking up every day and resenting slowly that career choice that you've made. And I think it's really important, even if you don't know now, it's okay, because eventually you'll find out what you're good at. And it's really important to find yourself and take on that journey where finding yourself, not accepting anything that comes your way, and just finding your career path. So I'm pretty sure that's a really important issue, to not accept what your parents want you. Of course, you have to not obey. You have to obey your parents and please them, but just in a way that doesn't make you lose who you are and lose your identity. So I think that's my opinion.
So the idea that in our culture too, we don't wait to start things. We always wait to grow up, get to a certain age before we begin being innovative and being creative and stuff like that. These are always excuses for most African entrepreneurs to attain 40 and 45 before they start doing anything or seeking advice. And what is your take on that? What do you think Africa as a continent as a whole should do to help young kids, start this new? Because I know there are a lot of smart guys, smart kids out there. They have a lot of ideas on potential out there. What do you think are some of the things that parents can do, especially from homes, to help these kids start something? Let's begin with Sarah.
Okay. Africa has amazing potential, has this great potential. And unfortunately, and I notice I am from the generation that noticed that people don't aspire to give back to their country. They aspire to get out of that country, go to another country, and give back to that country, to the foreign country, rather than their own mother country. And I found that very sad, because we owe it to our country, to our original country, to kind of give back and develop that potential that there is there, and to rise with it, and to enrich it even more. Because if we look at our potential, we look at the potential that we have, we can reach the stars. And President Barack Obama said that Africa doesn't realize the potential that it has to be one of the greatest forces in the world. But unfortunately, people lose themselves, like I said, and they don't know their identity, and they don't relate to that identity. So they would rather go out and aspire to just profit and material profit rather than sustainable profit, which is the most important thing. So I think entrepreneurs, and myself, like, I would not want to consider myself, but I'm actively thinking about opportunities in my country and other African countries, whereas we can, for example, raise education for young girls to develop. I know that so many kids, they walk 10 to 15 miles to school. So it's all about taking that first step and thinking about those kind of areas where you can explore and that you can develop in your country to give back to your community, and to develop that creativity and innovation, like you said, of individuals.
Well, I think with us not being innovative or actually like productive at the early age, is that in a way we don't have all the support, or we don't have the proper tools growing up, or even in the country we don't have that. We are very limited. And that's one of the excuses. But then at some point, what we need to do is that our government, we rely too much on government. We don't have private industries that like research labs or workplaces or investment places. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't do that. Here in America, like the last 6 years that I've been here, you have an idea, you worked on it, you can present it to somebody will actually like fund you to start doing it.
Yeah.
And here we don't have it. Back home we don't have it as a country, as a continent. In different countries, a lot of people, that's the thing, this is the process that we are actually, like, for me, speaking for myself, I would love to one day in the next 5 years, I would like to go back home and work on different things that I wanted to. But then when we talk about the general population, we don't have that much support from people from our own country. Like even the economy system is not flowing within the country, it's going out. So that's why at some point you feel like, or you see that, we don't have the money, the government doesn't do that, doesn't do this, because we are not really investing in our youth per se. We are building things that are not necessary, and we are investing in things that are necessary. Our education system isn't as strong as it should be.
So, Mr. Amir, if I'm getting you correctly, you believe that our system is completely broken.
Yes.
And I agree with you. It's taking a toll on most of the youth in coming out and channeling their energy and potential in creating things. But again, what I want us to look at is that this is the reality we live in. At this point, the system is completely broken, and I know it would take hundreds of years for us to get back on track. So at this point in our system, where it's broken, where do we meet the youth? How do we meet them halfway? How do they make this kind of system or this thing actually work in their favor?
You see, with that thing is that, in my opinion, people like you and I who got the opportunity to come out and study and do different things, when we go back, we do something, we show the youth, we're actually building people's confidence, and they see somebody from their own place did something, and it's no longer impossible. It's just a matter of time.
Okay.
Because like when you grow up, like the only thing that you see, a lot of people, they are just business people. They go buy things and sell it. You don't see someone who did something like Mark Zuckerberg or whatever, right? So they don't see that as if it's possible for us to do something. Like if one person or two people did it, they would actually believe in themselves. And one of the bigger problem that I have is that, like, sometimes when people like you and I come out, go to America and explore their options, they don't feel like they want to go back. It's like they don't go back. So whenever you don't go back, like look at America. If you are good, they keep you here. They trying to like give you a sponsorship, and then later on they might give you a citizenship or green card. And here in Africa, especially where I come from, we don't do that. Everyone wants to go out. Like in the last 5 years, a lot of people came to America, Canada, or somewhere else. A lot of the youth, and it's not going to help anybody when we don't inspire the youth and we don't change things within us. And then at some point, we have rich people, individual, who needs to invest in youth, but then we are just waiting for the government to do everything. And for me, that's not what's gonna help.
I personally think the lack of resources really is one of the problems here. It's not that our government isn't capable of helping the youth. They are, but we all know it's embezzlement. That's pretty much what it is. And I just felt like also, if our parents can pretty much like invest in their kid at a very young age, because like one thing I kind of realized is that in the U.S., for example, in the U.S., if a kid, maybe an elementary kid in school, start doing like a little, maybe let's say like jumping and stuff like that, their parents will look into that. They would want to invest in that little techniques, what I'm saying, that little talent that they see. And believe it or not, that's how you see like people like Michael Phelps and stuff like that, because the moment the parents see like, oh, I think my kid like doing this, they don't want to change, they wouldn't change the perspective. They're not going to tell you that, oh, you can't do that. They want to see the potential in you, and they want to see like, oh, I think my kid like this, so they want to like put in work to make sure like, you become who you want to become, and these are the certain things that I feel like we are also lacking back home, which like, our parents want us to be one thing that we do not want to be, but I would say but as of right now, we just have to focus on like helping, youths, and like, investing in them and stuff like that, because our governments won't do it.
It's like whenever we talk about the government not do it, we are not looking for government to do something. We are just looking for a government to create somewhere where people, if the government did it, it's not going to be for me. It's going to be, in the long run, it's going to affect the country, and later on it will affect a lot of people.
Sure.
And when you create or invest in something that people can work on, like you invent something that brings money to the country. It brings to me, but then I will spend it to the country and whatnot. So that's what the government, if they don't build facilities like swimming pools and whatnot, like what type of Michael Phelps, where is he gonna come from? And this type of thing, I think it's important to have a place to start something.
Well, it's good to call the government the boogeyman and blame them for everything, but change starts with you. Like, I believe that each person is responsible for the change they want, and we can't just keep blaming the government. Yes, the government in our countries back home in Africa, they are corrupt. Yes, there's a lot of corruption, there's a lot of embezzlement, there's a lot of everything you want. They take a lot of of what the community has to have, of like the community's rights. That's like my right. I pay taxes, I'm supposed to get a better service, better education, better medical medicine or whatever. But if you don't start the change within yourself, if the youth, yes, we know that there has to be some change. Yes, we believe that, we know that the youth should not go, for example, in my case, like to France, to Europe, to Canada, to the US. Why should I leave my country? Why are my parents don't want me to stay in Morocco, because they want me to get out of that country, because I'm the kind of person, so they say, that will not do good with bureaucracy and all the hypocrisy that's in our system. Yes, but why should I move out of where I grew up so as to leave the court for them and leave them to play and do whatever they want? So if we keep blaming, yes, the government, yes, the officials, yes, the higher up people, but I think that youth, we should be encouraged to kind of get our voice out there and let it be heard, and start change a little by steps. I mean, in my country, and I don't know about you guys' countries, but like there's less corruption than it was, say 20-30 years ago, because the youth started it, because there was a lot of movements, because people had said this is enough, let's change it. And I just think that we have voices, and our voices should be heard. Call me idealist, but I think change starts with you.
And the way I feel right now is like, I really can't blame people migrating, moving out of Africa in general, because I mean, we all strive for sources. And the way I am, like I was actually thinking going back home, maybe in the future, but it's just like sometimes I just think about it. I want to make it different, but are you trying to make it different? Like, are you thinking about moving back home? You know what I'm saying? It's not just gonna be a very easy decision. You know what I'm saying? It's like we've been there, done that. We know how it is back home. Like, to get a job is even hard, even when you obtain a very quality education.
You see, this
when you're done with your life, are you gonna say like I did something in my life? I tried, I don't know. I think that people should try, it's very idealistic maybe, but at the end of my life I would rather wake up and say, yes, I tried. Yes, I was one of the few people who tried and who tried to make a difference in my life, in my country. Why are you shaking your head? Anyways, so yeah, that's what I think.
Actually, like when you said you were thinking of going home, like I kind of disagree with you because you want to make a difference and it's kind of hard. But then one of the things that I think that I disagree with youth at some point, we all look for the easy way out. Like no offense, okay? Like it's hard. Everything is hard. Yeah, we want a job. Sometimes we are in America. People like the American dream. I want the car, the kid, the house, and whatnot. But then when we look into reality, like she said, she wanted to look back and see what she did in her country. It doesn't matter if it's a small or big. She actually made a difference.
Well, with that opinion, which I highly respect, but with me, I feel like working in this country really would generate the resources that I wanted to do, in order to help my people in Nigeria. Because, I'm not going to go back home after obtaining degrees and don't get a job. So I'm definitely going to work here for years and save up some money. Even it's not going to be years and years and years. In as much as I start making, where I want to be, I will start helping people. Because like I said, and I like that point, you don't want to be in that kind of like in a senior citizen stage and you just stay to yourself like, what have I really done? Like, did I really help people? Stuff like that. And I respect that a lot.
Definitely the system is a factor. Definitely the government is a factor. But we need to understand that, and I agree with Sarah, it begins with a personal choice. It begins with a personal choice. Because from what I'm aware, about 95% of African leaders had some form of education abroad, in the United States, in China, in whatsoever. Okay, they see the changes, they see the system, they know how it works. They've had a full education here, but for them to implement it back, it comes back to personal choice. So right now, what I want us to talk about right now is talking from a perspective of a young African who is in the United States, has found some form of education. What kind of ideas can you spark? What kind of ideas can you put up for people who are thinking of doing something back home? It doesn't have to be building a big hospital or building a big village, building a library for your village or anything like that. Little things, for the, we want to reach the high school kid who is back home right now in Africa. What can we do as people here with PhDs, with masters, with bachelor's degrees, nursing degrees? What can we do back home to help? Again, they said charity begins at home. For your siblings, for your dad, for your mom, what can we do to help these kids break through this, hocus pocus, they said, that we are actually dealing with in Africa?
There are a few things that we need to do. Like you raise a good point. Like the small things, not the big thing. Everyone look at the big thing. In a way, the smallest part, we need to raise awareness. Like 2-3 people get the message, and it's gonna be a domino effect. And if I teach one, somebody else will reach one and teach one. Yeah. And what we need to do is that we need to make sure that we don't put everyone, like, when you grow up, like with your siblings, your parents compare you. Like if I you get an A, I get 97. They're like, no, where are the 3 points at? Yeah. And then it play a mental toll in your head. But at some point, we need to. I know I grew up with my twin brother and my younger brother, my older brother, and every time my old younger brother, he's the smartest, so they compare us to, like, you guys are dumb. And at some point, I started to think that the school wasn't for me and whatnot. And I literally didn't give a crap about school until I came here. And I didn't know what I was going to do too. But then what works is that we need to, here in America, they have a way of like making people find what they're good at.
Yeah.
And back at home, we just put you together. It's like, you know what? All ships just work together.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we need to do. The smallest thing is that raise awareness of like, we are not all the same. And we're all called for different things.
Okay.
So, and then at some point, it's just that you need to know what it's good for you. And then in a way, like with kids, they learn faster.
Mm-hmm.
And then with them, like what I've been hearing a lot that like in the next few years or now we have the youngest workforce in the world, and 52% of them are women. And with this education type of thing, we need to take it seriously, and we need to create more opportunities for them to do things. Like your president in Ghana, he made high school for free for people. You see, back then, like in a way, the public school, we don't really, in my country, we don't have good education there because they don't get paid well, and sometimes the teachers come, sometimes they don't come. Because I went to a public high school and I went to a private high school, and I know the difference. So when we like even the playing field of education, then we get somewhere. Without education, we are not getting anywhere, just to be honest.
Guess this is my opinion. I would say the youths, they probably need like a role model, you know, because if you're a role model like I am right now, being an IT guy, you know, like if I go back home and and then I hang out with kids that have the potential to be an IT personnel and stuff like that, you know, I can easily motivate them, you know, like, and tell them, hey, if I can do it, you can do it. But I understand the resources is not there. So I think that's where my role as a role model comes in, and try to like, you know, try as much as possible to give them every resources you know, that they need. And I'm pretty sure like if I call you, and I call you, I'm like, hey, I have these kids in Nigeria and they need
Sarah, but yeah,
you know, I have these kids in Nigeria. I think, you know, like they need help and stuff like that, and this is all I can do. Can you guys support me? And I'm sure you guys would definitely love to. So what I'm trying to say here is like, you know, like you said, if somebody just stick up, you know, like try to do something, you know, try to make it different, and you'll be surprised that it's just gonna keep growing and keep growing and keep growing. So, you know, these kids, they really need somebody that's gonna be like, you know, a role model, like to that specific job, you know, field and stuff like that. So I feel like we just need people to like motivate our youths in that specific field. So if you, because they're gonna look up to you, they're gonna be like, oh, like this is the, you know, person that I want to be in the future. He's already doing it big, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, if you want to help out, be a role model, and then provide the resources. So like I said, us and now we are looking forward to like creating an organization in Nigeria where, like, you know, you have these kind of like a specific place you go to if you need help with like computers and stuff like that. If you think you have passion for it, you can come in. You know, we can see what you are really, because I mean, IT is really broad. You know, you can be a software engineer, you can be an hardware and software guy. You know, so it really is robust. So we are actually looking forward to like creating like an organization where, like, even if we need some financial help, we have people out here that are willing to help as well. So with that being said, I would say we need a role model, and also the role model comes with providing resources, because as a role model, you're probably going to a lot of people, and believe it or not, there is money in Nigeria. It's just how to get the money out. So and I think living in the US kind of give you like a benefit, really, like, because you get to know a lot of people. So when you go back home, it's like your caliber, the people you hang out with is going to be totally different. So I think with that being said, being a role model will come with the resources, and it's just going to continue growing. I mean, what do you guys think?
I am going to talk about two things, and I'm going to raise a good point on inclusiveness. And also you raised a point about teaching, education, school. Okay. And I did kind of went through the same thing where my older brother was pretty smart. He was always bringing the good grades home. And my mom will always look at my grades and be like, why don't you be like your brother? Okay. He's always sitting by the books. He's always studying. You always want to play video games and do this and do that. Again, it kind of labels the person. Yeah. And once they accept that label, it's very difficult for them to break out of that. So I'll tell my mothers and my daddies and siblings back home that we have to learn to stop doing that. and labeling these kids and calling them names as being dumb, not being serious, and stuff like that, and try to meet them halfway. Okay. And one thing I also have realized is that in most of our African classrooms, we don't teach leadership. Okay. We teach competition. So students are pushed to compete with their fellow mates. Who gets the A? Who gets the B? Who gets the C? We are giving them merit. My school, I remember, was private. The headmaster will actually come out and put a list out, and list out first 20 students. What about the other 20 students that are beneath it? We got insulted. We weren't serious. I kind of accepted that label, and for that reason, I wasn't really doing much well in school until I actually got here, and the whole perspective changed, and I got to start believing in myself and knowing that I can actually achieve and become somebody. Okay, and that has helped me a lot. So I'll urge my teachers to start teaching leadership in classrooms and stop creating an atmosphere for competition.
At some point, competition is good, but the one we do back home is not healthy competition. And then one of the things, like when you said they post the list, in my case, they come in, right? They have that bulletin thing, and they call the first, and then whenever you're getting to the last, they say they woo you, boo. You know what I mean? Like every time, like when you get to that thing, everyone they get booed. So some people don't go. Like I got in that place twice, so I never showed up to class. I don't get booed. But it's just that at some point, like the healthy competition work. And we actually need to do the team working thing. Like here in school, you have the group work. Even you guys did your masters, and you're doing your master. He already did it. You still work in a group, and you have like assignments that you work with groups.
And it's true, and that's the mentality we deal with all the time and every day. There's no teamwork. There's no teamwork.
That's why the government does not get things done.
Exactly. There's no teamwork. Everybody is fighting and crying about themselves and what they can achieve and not achieve. Everybody is backstabbing each other. Everybody is, looking for criticism just to bring the other persons down and stay up. This is what we are dealing with. And I tell you, truthfully, that is starting from the classroom. It's really starting from the classroom. And students are getting spanked for failing or getting a certain point with a wood stick. Exactly, not doing homework and all that. There's a way to motivate them. Again, like you said, there's a constructive way of instilling competition. It's really good. For my class that I teach right now, I have students who are pretty good and they get good grades. What do? I call them on the side and I ask them, hey, is it okay if I show your work to the class? And kind of tell the class what she did well. Yes, so that people get inspired. And for most of these, I do this because so that these students will know who is knowing or who is good at what, so that when they are looking for help, they can reach out to that person and get that help and be successful as anyone else. So again, my tip is our teachers need to do a better job teaching leadership in their classrooms. You don't have to be in high school. You don't have to be in middle school. It has to start from preschool. Teach them leadership. Give them responsibilities.
Pretty much everything you guys just said. Labels. You're welcome. In our countries, culture kind of powers religion, so it doesn't really matter. But we have certain things in our cultures that make it harder for youth to develop themselves and to find their identities, like I said, like we all said. And labeling. Like I had also the same problem with my parents. My parents used to compare my brother to me, and I was always against that because it's not good. Like he had issues in his high school and his university because he was always compared to that, and I was compared to my cousins, not education wise, but kind of prettier, they got married or whatever. But like I don't want that. I'm gonna get education. I don't want to just got married at 20. So that's nothing. No, I no, I don't accept Amir. Anyways, I have the ring for you. Oh, really? Show it to me then. So like I said, and I believe that education is at the source of every problem in our countries, and like the educational system, and also the parents that they have to change that culture with just comparing your children and forcing your choices on them, and not being able to let them find their true identity. And I believe from the US system, what we've learned, unfortunately, they have many advantages over us. And one of those advantages are the education system. People have their voice here. People are developed. Children are developed throughout very, very early age. Also, girls' education. In my country, girls, as soon as they never go to school. In some areas, in some remote areas, they don't go to school because a girl is supposed to where she belongs, in the kitchen, serving her husband, and her husband is supposed to bring home the meat and the work and the food and whatever. Why can't she be the independent person who is the house head and who does that? So I really want to where I'm really thinking about those kind of issues all the time, like education, especially for girls. Also the healthcare system here in the US compared to our countries, it's not really it comes to a certain point where people are afraid to get sick because they know that when you're going to go to the public healthcare system, you're not going to be treated. So many people die just because they're waiting for doctors, and when they call them, they're like, I'm sleeping, I can't come. This is the public. And the majority of the population, they can't afford to go to private clinics. So of course they're going to have to wait there until something worse happens. So I think we need to develop those areas, the healthcare system, the educational system, because that's at the base of everything. And like I said, it might seem too idealistic, but I think those areas are the ones that need to be developed. And it's easy to say it rather than do it, but like I said, change starts within ourselves, and if one person after the other starts, then I'm sure everyone follows, and that'll create the change that we want. Sorry.
Again, remember, this is MentalSpice. We are here to motivate, innovate, and also tell what potential the youth has around the world. We are wrapping up real soon. We touch base on career choice. We talked about basic issues of what to think about as a young student, as a young academician who is looking for a career. We've talked about what parents can do to help these kids. We've created the awareness of how our system is already broken and what we can actually fish out of that. It's going to get better. It's going to get better. But at this point, as we wrap up, I just want us to give our final take, final advice on this youth and what to think about and how to get ready for those who are preparing to go back home to go do something, and for those who are preparing to actually come over here and start the education and start life, and things to think about. So let's begin with Mr. Badmos.
So like I always say, like I said earlier, coming to the U.S., of course, it comes with excitement. You want to come, of course, everybody want to come to the U.S. So let me just put it like that. So coming out here, make sure you choose the right major for you. Don't go by what your. I'm not gonna say disrespect your parent, but you want to go by what you love to do, because believe it or not, that will pay off in the long run. Because when you have passion for something, you will love doing it, and 9 times out of 10, the money's gonna flow with it. So that's how I'm feeling. You feel me? All right. So going back home after, getting all these degrees and stuff like that to better help my people back home, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one thinking about this, but I'm sure we all share the same ideas, going back home and helping, our youth and stuff like that. So believe it or not, I'm sure in the next few years there will be people coming back home and helping out. But as a youth back home, I would say keep up the good work. If you feel like you love something, there is resources online. You can go online. Before I leave Nigeria back in 2010, they were like, I get on Google. I get to learn a lot of stuff on Google. So, try to push yourself as well. Try to push yourself as well. We might not have resources, but you can strive for sources. Push yourself and ask for help and stuff like that. It can be real hard, that I would say, but believe it or not, it's gonna pay off in the long run.
At some point, when we talk about like schooling and education, there are two different things. I just want to clarify that before giving my advice or whatever, my 2 cents in. Like, you can be educated without even going to school the way you choose, like go to Google, use your resources and whatnot. But then when your schooling is different, don't rely on the schooling to give you education. That's where you get it to, only if you apply yourself. All right, with that being said, for those who are trying to come here, is that the major that you picked, not almost all the time you are going to end up using it. And it's okay. at some point. But one of the most important thing that if you come here or anywhere that you go, you have to build your network, because you have what you're trying. You have a dream and you have a road that you planned, but that does not mean you're gonna get to it right away. Sometimes in life things happen, and you are gonna plan things. Your dream job is not after college. It's like maybe 10, 20 years down the line. And whenever you have good connection with people, regardless if they are students or just the friends, you keep those. You'll never know when you need them. And it will help you actually get where you want to get quicker, rather than just focus on school. That's when people are like, oh, I'm going to school, I'm focusing on my school. School is good, you get your good grades, but then at the end, what did you get out of it? It's that. And for those who are going back, like myself, in the next few years, is that one thing that we need to do is that we make sure we work as a group, because you can work by yourself, but you can only get so far. With a group of people, you have a team around you, you actually get further than what you planned, because with other eyes you can see a lot of goals, you can see a lot of targets quicker than just you by yourself. And at some point, whenever you work with other people, you are effective and efficient at the same time. So just do that, and like he said, never give up. And then whenever you don't give up, then you're actually knowing what you do. At some point, it's not right away that you get the result. Sometimes it takes longer, sometimes it doesn't take long. But then no step is the bad step unless you don't try. Then every step is bad or good, it doesn't matter. And if you miss your opportunity, take it again, because it's always going to come around.
So my advice would be for people who are coming here to the US or abroad in general, like everyone said, do your research, network, create network. I know some people who while they were home, like their home country, they found scholarships, and they reached out to where they were going. They reached out to the professors, they talked to the staff. Just talk to everyone, get as many people as you can in your network, in your contacts. Talk to people, get yourself in there. I was trying to
get her number, but she said no.
But I remember, but I forced myself to kind of get out of my comfort zone, and to talk to people and to go and reach out. Sometimes it's very scary, and my heart always beats really fast before I do it. But then after you do it, it's fine. Like I said, you don't regret it, because you regret. This is a really good saying that I really love. You regret more the things that you didn't do rather than the things that you did do. So at least you're out there. At least you put yourself out there. Just do your research, network with people, get yourself out there. Tell them you're interested in coming, or if you're already, tell them you're interested in a scholarship and in assistantship, anything that would make them help you. Also. Don't get too much research, like by watching TVs, like series or something, about the culture. It's completely different. You end up in Terre Haute, really disappointed by all that, not living the American experience. But you're here for a reason. Your education, of course, if you focus on that, and if you really just want to come and party, it's not that. You're probably gonna be like a small town like we are and not doing anything with your life. But for people who are coming back to their countries, I mean, I understand that all we've said is a lot of effort and a lot of talk about, being the change that you want to see in the world, and, changing your country. Yes, but also everyone has a main goal in their life, just get work, have a lot of money, and don't live the way that you did in your country. Live comfortably. I understand that, and it's not selfish to think that way. Everyone thinks that way. Of course I want to live comfortably, but go to your country. If you're willing to go to your country and make a change, go with a plan. Of course, put yourself first. It's not selfish, it's human. You want to live comfortably, yes, but also go to your country with a plan, in a way that kind of benefits you and your country. So if those of you who are going back to their country to give back to their community, to give back to their city, to their families, just go with a plan, do your research, like I said, and network. Like Amir said, it's a really, since the time that I've come here to ISU, we've only been hearing this one word, network. Just reach out and really expand your network as much as you can, because it's very useful and beneficial for you on the long run. So
this is my take again, and I agree with them. As a young youth, African youth back at home listening to us, just remember, personal education is as important as formal education. Okay, like Amir said, You don't have to be in a 4 square building or for a teacher to tell you got an A or a B to be successful. Okay? Do your own research. Read as many books as you can. Ask a lot of questions, because I know we live in a community where we think that asking for help is a sign of weakness. Yes. It really isn't. It really isn't. Ask for help if you need it. Ask people who have been there. And I know you have people in your community you look up to. Approach them. Don't be afraid. Okay? They were once like you. They were in middle school, high school, just like you. Just think in that direction and know that everything is possible. Okay? As we move on, for my people who are already here and trying to go do back home, remember, we live in a digital world. You don't have to be present to touch lives. You can do a lot of things, different things. You can connect, create connections. Your finance can go ahead of you and touch lives. Look for organizations. Look for any way you can assist or help. It's the same thing we are doing over here. We spend our time to come sit here and talk, not because we like or we love to be in front of the camera, like my brother Amir does. You can tell his style. But again, this is our coder to helping the youth back home. It could be anything. Just find something to do to help these kids. Because again, if your neighbor is living healthy, he won't think about coming to rob you in the middle of the night. So everything that you do, you are affecting so much lives. You are helping communities in different ways or forms that you don't really even know about. So again, stay motivated. All right, again, remember, this is MentalSpice. We come up again to you next week, Friday, with our hottest topic. And guess what it is? Relationships. So we're going to be talking about relationships next week. Stick with us, be with us.
Don't get your